We got him, Sarah.
Okay, so it's about 10, so we will begin now. So good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces virtual worship service. My name is Sarah Reyes, and I will be today's moderator. So here's a couple of things that will make our service run a little better. So number one, please keep yourself muted and your video off during the service and during the songs. Number two, we will turn off the congregation chat function throughout the worship service to minimize distractions. However, we will have the chat function available during a few segments for you to interact with if needed. And finally, you can widen your own screen when in the split video option. So this will make it easier to view service associates, lyrics on the screen, as well as videos that are played during the service. Finally, for best audio service, we recommend using headphones if you're alone or a Bluetooth speaker if you're in groups. Please enjoy today's service.
Good morning and welcome. I'm Catherine Massey, Director of Music, and it's wonderful to be with you on this beautiful Las Cruces spring morning. Our gathering song is Jason Shelton's hymn, The Fire of Commitment, one of our congregation's favorites. And since I cannot play on the piano this hymn and sing at the same time, and we really need both, we will use a wonderful video by another UU music director and sing with the words on the screen. I invite you to sing this morning.
From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we
Our opening words this morning are from Ashley Horan. You are part of a we, a great cloud of witnesses, living and dead, who have insisted that this beautiful, broken world of ours is a blessing worthy of both deep gratitude and fierce protection. Our ancestors and our descendants are beckoning us, compelling us onward toward greater connection, greater compassion, greater commitment to one another and to the earth. Together, we are resilient and resourceful enough to say yes to that call, to make it our life's work in 1,000 different ways, knowing that we can do no other than bind ourselves more tightly together and throw ourselves into the holy work of showing up again and again to be part of building that world of which we dream, but which we have not yet seen.
Katie, you're muted.
Our chalice lighting words this morning come from the Reverend Cynthia Landrum. They're entitled Connection and Commitment. As we kindle this flame, may it spark in each of us connection and commitment to this living tradition and to each other. Please join in saying our church's affirmation and covenant, followed by singing the doxology in English and in Spanish. Love is the doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of hope and faith arise. Let peace, goodwill on earth be sung, through every land, by every tongue. De todos bajo el gran sol, ser la esperanza fe amor. Verdad belleza en la canción de cada tierra, cada voz. Good morning and welcome to the continuing virtual worship service for the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces. My name is Katie Fitzgerald and I'm your service associate for today. Our minister, the Reverend Kalani Kachela, is not in the pulpit today. He will return on next Sunday, March 14th. Maggie Locatelli is leading worship this morning. We are delighted to be with you today. Unitarian Universalism has no creed nor dogma. We are a covenant-based church, meaning that we agree to live in relationship with each other according to the Unitarian Universalist principles and our congregation's covenant of right relations. We embrace diversity in all its forms. Everyone is welcome. You can learn more about our church and check the events calendar at our website, uuchurchlc.org. In order to help contain the spread of the coronavirus, all meetings and services at the church are currently being held using Zoom software. If you have any questions about how to use Zoom, you may contact Sarah Race, the church's technical support staff member. If you are visiting us today, we'd like to meet you. Please introduce yourself by turning on your mic and camera and then sharing your name and where you are. We'd also like to know how you heard about our virtual worship service. Seems like we have no visitors today. We're very glad that everyone could join us today for our service. Directly following this service, there will be a 15-minute opportunity to fellowship with one another. Just stay linked into this. Oh, excuse me, we have a visitor. Sorry. Claudia, could you unmute?
I did, and then I did it again. Anyway, I'm Claudia Elferdink. I'm a retired UU minister living in Silver City. And I just know about you guys being a minister. And also I hear all the time on public radio about your church and your services and your programs. So congratulations on being so visible in the community.
Well, that's wonderful that our outreach is making headway. That's great. Thank you so much, Claudia, for introducing yourself, and welcome. Glad
Thank
you
you.
could be with us today. If you would leave your email in the chat box, we can invite you directly to other activities and services at our church. We hope that all of you will stay linked to this site after the service ends, and so that you can be placed in a breakout room for fellowship. Please be aware that religious education begins at 11:30 and is held using their own Zoom link. Today we have two announcements. The first one, don't forget, daylight savings time begins next Sunday, next week. Be sure to bring your clock forward. Also, next Sunday, we will have the Congregational Special Budget Meeting. That will be next Sunday, March 14th at 12:45 p.m. There is a revised church budget for your review, and there's a link in the electronic order of service for you to check it out. There will also be informational meetings Wednesday at 6 p.m. and next Saturday at 2 p.m. If you care to come on board, listen to the presentation, and have opportunity to find out what it is we are seeking to do with our revised budget. And then, of course, come to vote at next Sunday at 12:45. We thank you all for being tuned in with us today.
Hello, UUs. This is Reverend Kalani. This weekend, I'm on military duty in Albuquerque. And as you prepare for your worship service, I want to do a few community quick hits and let you get on your way. We're doing really well with the auction donations, and we want to encourage you to continue sending in your items for us to put up on the website. Remember that the auction is in May, but we need to collect and upload to the website all the items in advance. You're sending in some very high quality items, and we want to encourage you to keep doing the good work. Send in the stuff that you love, that others will also love, that we can get a really good auction proceeds from. And don't forget to send in your events, such as dinners and other types of gatherings that can also be presented on the Mesilla Valley or New Mexico estate sales platform, which will go to the community. Secondly, next week we're going to have a congregational meeting to approve a revised budget. The meeting will be held after religious education. So I want to encourage you to attend one of the Q&A sessions that will take place prior to the budget meeting, and then come back on March 14th at 12:45 to vote. Finally, we're scheduled to have a grief recovery course called Navigating Grief. It's supposed to start on March 18th, and it is a joint course between the UUCLC and the UU Fellowship of Amarillo, Texas. But we need you to sign up in advance, otherwise the class probably won't make. So please go to the weekly news or the light to find the link for signing up for Navigating Grief, which will be held starting on the 18th, which is a Thursday, and go for 6 weeks. I know that these are very difficult times, and many of us are struggling from day to day, week to week, just dealing with the inordinate time of being under a pandemic. But let me encourage you to keep doing the good things that you're doing for your family, your friends, and for this beloved community. Keep your UU faith burning brightly and hold on to the hope that you have, knowing that we're going to be getting together again down the road. Keep doing and showing love in all that you do. Until then, be safe and enjoy this service with these excellent worship leaders, Maggie, Katie, Catherine, and Kelly. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rihanna Thomas. I'm a member of the Religious Education Committee, and I have 2 children who participate in religious education for the youth. I wanted to talk a little bit this morning about covenants. When we join together for religious education or for special classes like our whole lives, we always form a covenant together. So a covenant is a set of rules and norms that we all agree upon and decide together, and then we commit to during our time together. And in religious education, oftentimes the covenant includes things like listening to each other instead of trying to think about what we're going to say next, listening to understand. We sometimes, especially in our whole lives settings, agree on what words we'll use so that everyone is comfortable with the language that we'll use. A lot of times we agree to try to forgive each other and also try to do better next time. And my children reminded me that one of their favorite agreements is to try to have fun together. One way to think about putting together a covenant is to think about both your rights and responsibilities in a community. So you might think about, if you want the right to be heard, you also have the responsibility to listen to other people. If you want the right to be forgiven when you make a mistake, you have the responsibility to forgive others when they make mistakes. If you have the right to a tidy and organized space, you also have the responsibility to maintain a tidy and organized space. In this time when we're all home and spending time with the people we live with, more time than normal, it's a good idea to think about the covenant you have with each other. It might be time to revisit and revise and discuss that covenant and just promote that living in good relation with each other. Have a great week, everyone.
Our opening hymn is Step by Step, the Longest March, which is in our hymnal, and you will see on the screen the lyrics, which come from the United Mine Workers of America. I invite you to sing with me.
ways we support one another in community is through the sharing of joys and sorrows. Especially in this time of social distancing, it's crucial that we make attempts to stay connected to one another. Our church's website has a link which allows you to confidentially submit a joy, sorrow, or milestone to Reverend Kachela. You can specify if you like your submission shared with the caring team and/or the congregation, or if you prefer it to remain confidential. These are the joys and sorrows which have been sent into the church office this week. Shared by Carol Winkler. Carol is doing well and is home recovering from her surgery. She wants to thank everyone who reached out to her this week for all your kindnesses. She thanks everyone for their thoughts, prayers, and good energy. Gail Trantham. Gail continues under doctor's care in Albuquerque as they evaluate her treatment. She and her family appreciate your expressions of care and concern.
Let us pause to take note of the joys and sorrows just spoken, as well as those we may be holding quietly in our hearts. Let us pledge to be open to all the feelings which arise, to fully witness all those markers of life, both joyful and hard to bear, which affect our community. I offer this prayer by Reverend Scott Taylor. In the end, they will know our commitments by our actions. They will measure our legacy by our loyalty to the long haul. Our strength lies in the willingness to bear the burdens of others. Our love lives on to the degree we choose to offer it when the offering isn't easy. So let us choose wisely with great intention and care, knowing it is not simply we who make promises. Our promises also make us. So faithfully, friends, let us travel into the new day. Amen.
Before I share our readings, we have a joy to share from Catherine. It's a joy to be in the classroom, providing face-to-face support to grateful students. Also joyful for the vaccine that made it possible. For readings today, I have 4 short quotes. The first is from Henry Nelson Wyman. Inevitably in our lives, we commit ourselves to something, whether worthy or not. The direction and intensity of our loyalties give shape and meaning to our lives. Loyalties, commitments, covenants, the promises we make to one another. These are the things that tell us to what we belong. By doing so, they tell us who we are. The second quote is attributed to Ralph Waldo Emerson. A person will worship something, have no doubt about that. We may think our tribute is paid in secret in the dark recesses of our hearts, but it will out. That which dominates our imaginations and our thoughts will determine our lives and character. Therefore, it behooves us to be careful what we worship, for what we are worshiping, we are becoming. Here's a more modern author, Stephen Covey. Anything less than a conscious commitment to the important is an unconscious commitment to the unimportant. And finally, from David Brooks, the most complete definition of a commitment is this: falling in love with something and then building a structure of behavior around it for those moments when love falters.
I'd like to share a song with you this morning that is written by an old friend of mine, Rod McDonald. I think it's one of just a wonderful song about loyalty and commitment. And as you listen, please sing along with me, muted, but sing along with me with the chorus if you like. It's got some great harmony possibilities. It's called Sailor's Prayer. Though my soul's sails be torn and tattered, and my mast be turned about, let the night wind chill me to my very soul. And though the spray might sting my eyes, and the stars no light provide, give me just another morning light to hold. I will not lie me down, this rain a-raging. I will not lie me down in such a storm. And if this night be unblessed, I shall not take my rest till I reach another shore. If the only water left is but salt to wound my thirst, I will drink the rain that falls so steady down. And though night's blindness be my gift, and there be thieves upon my drift, I will thank the fog that shelters me along. I will not lie me down, this rain a-raging. I will not lie me down in such a storm. For that if this night be unblessed, I shall not take my rest till I reach another shore. Though my mates be drained and weary, and believe all hopes are lost, there's no need for their bones on that blackened bottom. Though death waits just off the bow, will not answer to him now. He shall stand to greet the morning light without us. For I will not lie me down, this rain a-raging. I will not lie me down in such a storm. If this night be unblessed, I shall not take my rest till I reach another shore. Good morning. Both commitment and covenant are essential to Unitarian Universalist life. We use these words casually and even interchangeably at times. This morning, I'll share some of my ponderings about commitment and covenant in the hope of inspiring you to ponder, as I think it is useful to examine these forms of promise. As a beginning point, let's consider the dictionary definitions, which I always like to do. Frequent synonyms for commitment are pledge, promise, enthusiasm, obligation, duty, strong belief in something, and loyalty. Definitions of covenant offer synonyms such as contract or bargain, often include the element of formality, and always include the ingredient of mutuality. The typical definition of covenant is a formal agreement or promise between two or more people or parties. And I really appreciated Rihanna's comments about the sort of the balancing of rights and responsibilities in terms of a way of thinking about mutuality. This may seem a simple difference. I commit, we covenant. Actually, the differences between promising individually and promising collectively with and to one another are profound and lead to complex considerations. Commitments do not inherently hold a promise for a particular return for one's investment of time and energy. When I commit to working for a particular cause, for example, I may receive internal kudos from myself for doing the right thing by living up to my values. I may even receive appreciation and thanks from others, but the cause has not made any promises to me. When I was in New York City in graduate school during the Reagan era, I joined a neighborhood anti-nuclear group, Parents and Children Against Nuclear War. This group was fine with me joining, although I wasn't a parent or at that point a child, to increase their numbers and to spread the word. But my involvement, my commitment to the group was strictly voluntary. I was invested in the cause, but expected nothing from the organization other than a structure for my civic participation. In terms of the element of non-mutuality, probably the most difficult commitment is that between parent and child. When parents bring a new life into the world, they hopefully make a loving commitment to that totally dependent little person. When parents expect reciprocity of consideration or care from infants and young children, they set themselves up for tremendous disappointment and possibly bitter resentment. The skewed power differential between parent and child necessitates that parents prioritize their children's needs and position themselves as nourishers, helpers, providers, and protectors. Of course, ideally, attachment and love between a child and parent grows and deepens over time, which is very fulfilling. But a parental commitment has no guarantees of relational reciprocity. Granted, there are differing expectations for young adults and adult children's roles with their parents, depending on culture and specific families. Still, of any relational commitment, that of parent with child is the most risky, the commitment that has the most potential for heartbreak. Many relationships have implicit or explicit expectations of mutuality built into them. In other words, they are covenantal, and the participants are interdependent. Marital and partner relationships are based on covenants. Even when the term covenant isn't used, vows or promises are usually publicly exchanged, declaring reciprocal love and promises of mutual care. In fact, the assumption of vital mutuality is a sign of a healthy relationship. It suggests that no one will be subservient or subjugated to another's will if the covenant is kept. Covenants, whether with God or a congregation or a smaller group or with a life partner, never go just one way. They demarcate a we and create interdependence. So, what do commitment and covenant mean in the context of our faith? Unitarian Universalists are bound by covenants. Our 7 principles, which define the breadth of our commitments as a denomination, begin with the phrase we, the member congregations of Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote. So, in keeping true to our principles, we pledge with one another and to one another to uphold the tenets of our faith, non-creedal as they may be. Our congregation has 2 major covenants with itself. On Sundays, we recite our covenant of affirmation. It begins, love is the doctrine of our church, and ends, thus do we covenant with one another. We also have a covenant of right relations, which outlines the ways we agree to treat one another. This covenant is part of our governing documents and was created by members of the congregation in 2011. We have many other covenants within the church. Covenant groups have covenants about how they will operate so that all members feel included and safe. As a congregation, we make agreements with new members when they formally join the church. Our congregation has a covenant with our minister. All of these agreements stand as guideposts to establish expectations of behavior, identify areas of responsibility, and charge us with shared investments of time and energy. I'd like to take a little bit of a deeper dive now. I'm in the process of raising questions with myself about some of these issues, so I hope I can articulate them clearly enough to be understood. Widening the Circle of Concern is the report published last year by the UUA's Commission on Institutional Change. In the chapter entitled Theology, the Commission lays out an analysis of theological individualism within Unitarian Universalism. During my first reading of this chapter, I was stunned and became very uncomfortable. Here are some excerpts I highlighted at the time. Since the consolidation of Unitarians and Universalists, an overemphasis on individual exploration and experience as the primary, if not sole, center of religious experiences developed. This centering of the individual decenters the communal as a focus of theological exploration. One of the unintended consequences has been the atomized individualism of the search for truth and meaning without accountability to its impact in communities. In the Unitarian tradition, we have the traditions of discerning discerning truth based on facts, reasoning, and investigation. Our religious ancestors believed not only in the ability of each of us to discover our own truth, but also in the ability to find real truth in the contexts of our lives, as well as in sacred texts and scriptures. This is the basis for our commitment to non-creedalism and our aversion to dogma. It is also what calls on us to look at the issues of this time. The word religion comes from the same base as the word ligament, something that binds together. To be religious is to be clear about what you are bound to in the way that a ligament holds muscle to the bone. The needed ties in our time involve our ability to see ourselves as truly interdependent. I felt tension forming knots in my head, chest, and my gut as I first read these passages. Resistance. Individualism, after all, is one of the reasons I was drawn to join the Unitarian Universalist faith. I am put in charge of crafting my own spiritual journey. In finding UU, I thought I had discovered a faith community in which I could be, more than not, autonomous, singular in seeking my own independent truth. Despite my discomfort, something about the texts of the report I had read rang true, and I revisited them several times, contemplating the wisdom that might be lurking there. I had never considered the effect of my spiritual individualism on anyone. This shocked me. I have long espoused the belief that everyone is connected, interdependent. Then why had it never occurred to me that my search for truth and meaning had communal consequences? Did I just embrace the notion of interdependence when it was comfortable for me? I had to answer yes. This led me to take stock of my many involvements within the church since I became a member in the mid-1990s. I believe I have done my fair share, chipping into the overall functioning of the church. I generally approached the work I did in many groups and committees as taking on commitments. I did not consider them a place for my spiritual growth. I did not credit them in that way. I siloed away what I considered to be my spirituality. My participation in choir is an exception to my other involvements. When I joined choir, I did so very consciously. I recognized at some level, very young, that singing was a personal spiritual portal for me. But I was not used to singing with other people. I had not done so since high school, and I did not think I was particularly good at it. When I determined to join the choir, I wanted to offer my voice and to stretch myself in terms of my ability to sing with others in order to make music for worship services. Participation in choir definitely requires work, input of time and energy. Much of our time is spent to improve the quality of our singing or to work out difficult musical passages. But there is something beyond the production of the songs for services which has emerged and grown for me. It is where I have grown spiritually, sharing in the long-term work of building mutual support and connections. Choir is where I experience interdependence like nowhere else, and where I feel the reality of spiritual plurality. A quote from Reverend Victoria Safford. We are bound by covenant, each to each and each to all, by what theologian Rebecca Parker calls freely chosen and life-sustaining interdependence. The central question for us is not what do we believe, but more what do we believe in? To what larger love, to what people, principles, values, and dreams shall we be committed? To whom? To what are we accountable? All a quote from Rebecca Parker. In a tradition so deeply steeped in individualism, it becomes a spiritual practice for each of us to ask these questions, not once and for all, but again and again. The life of the Spirit is solitary, but our answers to these questions call us to speak, call us to live in the plural. To wrap up, I just want to say a few things about broken commitments and covenants. Being clear from the beginning of making a promise can make changes or endings easier. Before I make a promise, I need to ask, to what or to whom am I committing? Is there an agreement about expectations? Can I honestly fulfill this promise? Remember, to be religious is to be clear about what you are bound to in the way that a ligament holds muscle to the bone. If I know I am going to change a commitment or break a covenant, it is imperative that I consider how this will affect others. I will need to determine what information to share about my decision and think carefully about with whom to share it. If I feel betrayed by someone, I need to attend to my feelings and, at some point, consider if my understanding of the relationship was in sync with the other person or people. Did I, for example, make assumptions about the reciprocal nature of the relationship? Did I disown my covenantal promises to a person or group? I think this kind of examination paves the path to deciding if and how a broken covenant may be repaired. Broken promises within covenantal agreements can prove very painful because at least one person's understanding of mutuality has been forsaken. When promises are broken, when covenants are broken, the work of braiding things back together is often very hard and may prove very worthwhile. But even to begin the repair, all parties must accept a new covenant and be willing to agree that one's individual actions do not end with you. I'll end with a quote from Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, our denomination's president. We sometimes wrongly say it is the absence of creed that is most important to who we are as Unitarian Universalists. This is wrong. Any one of us could practice religious freedom at home on Sunday mornings. We could practice religious freedom all day long, every day, and never come into community. It is covenant that brings us out of isolation, covenant that brings us out of selfish concerns, out of individualism, to join ourselves in something greater, to become a part of a community that is working to practice love, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and wisdom together, to find better ways to live our lives and live in the world. Thank you.
Despite the fact that we must practice social distancing in order to slow the effect of the COVID-19 virus, we remain connected in spirit as a beloved community. Many of the expenses of the church continue despite our not meeting in person. Please refer to the electronic order of service or to the member section of the church website to see how you can continue making your pledges. The church is continuing its support of organizations identified by the Social Justice Committee as recipients for our Change for Change program. We can't collect your actual change, so please convert whatever coins you would donate if the basket were being passed and continue your Change for Change donations. This quarter's donation will go to Cherished Canine All Breed Rescue. This organization was founded in 2013 as a 501c3 dedicated to rescuing lost, abandoned, neglected, and abused dogs in Las Cruces and Donna Ana County. As a Fire Exists by Burning by John Saxon, this religious community exists by its mission as a fire exists by burning, but a fire cannot burn without fuel. And it is the time, the energy, the imagination, the vision, the creativity, the compassion, the love, and the financial support of the members and friends of this community that fuels our mission to nurture and sustain a welcoming, inclusive, and diverse liberal religious community that transforms lives and serves the world. Your support, the free and generous support of each and every member and friend of this community, is what fuels this community and its mission. And without your support, the flame of justice, community, and love cannot burn brightly to warm ourselves and be a beacon in a world threatened by division and fear.
Whether you're different, same ignorant or intelligent, whether you tell the truth, lie or embellish it, whether you live in gratitude or for the hell of it, it doesn't really matter, it's still one single fellowship. Whether you've been lustful or living celibate, whether you're an optimist or only see the negative, whether you're dead broke or rich from inheritance, doesn't really matter, we're made of the same sediment. Whether you got a family or single parenting, or you're Asian, African, European or American, whether you pray to God or atheist is irrelevant, cause what you got inside is the same as all your preference. It'll change your heart, it'll change your mind, and then you'll start to change. So keep loving everything you touch, everyone you see will soon become your family. Do you see yourself in the troubled and the homeless? Can you say everywhere you are is where your home is? Sharing your heart in the dark just like a lotus, letting your light shine bright so you can flow there. Everlasting love of grace like those did Jesus, Muhammad, Krishna, Buddha, and Moses, who carried the weight of the world upon their shoulders. So every time you fall down, go ahead and hold this close to your heart, cause you're a love soldier, and every time you get a chance you pay it forward, moving closer to heaven's gates. We're all soaring because of you. Love is where we're headed towards. It'll change your heart, it'll change your mind, and then you start to change. So keep loving everything you touch, everyone you see will soon become your family. So keep loving, gotta keep on loving, gotta keep on sharing, gotta keep on trying, gotta keep on caring, gotta keep the light on through dark and despair, gotta spread the love where nobody cares. Gotta keep on loving, gotta keep on sharing, gotta keep on trying, gotta keep on caring, gotta keep the light on through dark and despair. So keep loving, it'll change your heart, it'll change your mind, and then you'll start to change. So keep loving everything you touch, everyone you see will soon become your family. So keep loving, gotta keep on loving, gotta keep on sharing, gotta keep on trying, gotta keep on caring, gotta keep the light on through dark and despair, gotta spread the love where nobody cares. Gotta keep on loving, gotta keep on sharing, gotta keep on trying, gotta keep on caring, gotta keep the light on through dark and despair. So keep loving, it'll change your heart, it'll change your mind, and then you'll start to change. So keep loving everything you touch, everyone you see will soon become your family. So keep
If you are joining this worship service online, are looking for a spiritual home, and are sympathetic with Unitarian Universalist values and principles, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces may be the place for you. We believe that when you become a member, you are entering into a warm and deep relationship with the church and all of our members and friends. You are becoming a part of something much bigger than any of us. You are becoming a part of a movement to change our community and our world. The way to join this church is to sign the virtual membership book through the link in the electronic order of service, or you can call the church, leave a message, and a member of the membership committee will contact you.
I invite you to sing with me our closing hymn, which is I'm on My Way to the Freedom Land. And this is a song, we will sing this in the call and response tradition from early slavery in the African American tradition. The one thing that we'll sing together is the chorus, which is I'm on my way, great God, I'm on my way. And feel free to sing out as loudly as you want. You've got the freedom to sing off key, pretend you're in the shower, and just sing on out. I invite you to sing. I'm on my way, I'm on my way to the freedom land, to the freedom land. I'm on my way to the freedom land, to the freedom land. I'm on my way to the freedom land. I'm on my way. Great God, I'm on my way. I asked my sister, come and go with me. I asked my sister, come and go with me. I asked my sister, come and go with me. I'm on my way, great God, I'm on my way. I asked my brother, come and go with me. I asked my brother, come and go with me. I asked my brother, come and go with me. I'm on my way, great God, I'm on my way. If they say no, I'll go anyhow. If they say no, I'll go anyhow. If they say no, I'll go anyhow. I'm on my way, great God, I'm on my way. I'm on my way, and I won't turn back. I'm on my way, and I won't turn back. I'm on my way, and I won't turn back. I'm on my way, great God, I'm on my way. I'm on my way, great God, I'm on my way.
Our closing words are from Reverend Rebecca Parker. Let us covenant with one another to keep faith with the source of life, knowing that we are not our own, earth made us. Let us covenant with one another to keep faith with the community of resistance, never to forget that life can be saved from that which threatens it by even small bands of people choosing to put into practice an alternative way of life. And let us covenant with one another to seek for an ever deeper awareness of that which springs up inwardly in us, even when our hearts are broken by our own failure or the failure of others cutting into our lives, even when we have done all we can and life is still broken. There is a universal love that has never broken faith with us and never will. This is the ground of our hope and the reason we can be bold in seeking to fulfill the promise.
Please join me in saying the words to extinguish the flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union, what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none, singly none. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union, what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none,